Hello, everybody. Can you all hear me okay? Yeah.
Yes.
So Laura, can I ask you to share our slides? My name's Bernie Taylor. I'm the Development and Impact Manager for Together for Childhood. I work for the NSPCC as the backbone support for the wider project. Together for Childhood is a 10-year project with the aim of taking a long-term view of preventing harm to children. It's bringing together communities and organisations to create and strengthen the conditions required for families to thrive. By working with the people who live and work in our area, we've been looking at what's going well and what needs support to improve. And out of this, we've established that there are 5 main areas for us to work on at the minute. So preventing domestic abuse, working with education settings, supporting community development and mobilisation, workforce development, and working better with dads. Next slide, please. In the safeguarding arena where child abuse and harm is suspected or it's occurred, fathers are often absent from the work, or if they're included, they can be viewed as disinterested, feckless, or dangerous. But this view is overly negative and it neglects to acknowledge the importance of dads and dad's willingness to be the best that he can be for his children. So we're keen to understand how we can shift the narrative on masculinity, fatherhood, and young fatherhood in particular, so that men can be more frequently seen as caring partners and fathers. Finding effective ways to prevent harm before it occurs will require a new way of engaging and working with dads so that they can be a more engaged part of their children's lives and more engaged in the services. So we need to engage dads better. We need to do better so that they can make a positive contribution to family life and the well-being of their children. We know that the local data has told us in Grimsby that children and family services were overly mother-centric, that dads have been overlooked as a key protective factor in their families, and the importance of dads is often undervalued in case files and practice behaviour. And local dads have been telling us that there's not enough support for dads, that they're unsure about the importance of their role in children's life and they're often just being there as a support for mum, that dads want to be good dads and that they felt judged and excluded from their children's care and development. Next slide, please. By pulling some of the community insight and asking dads in the community, we've learned some of the key things that dads in Grimsby want. They want to have a voice, they want to be valued, they want to get support, they want to be connected to other dads, they want to be considered important, they want their workplaces to see them as an equal parent. They definitely don't want to be judged, and they want the help when they want to receive help when they ask for it. And all dads want to be a good dad, so they need to have the confidence to ask for help and be understood when that happens. Next slide, please. The Young Dads Collective offers a new way of relating to and enabling young fathers by respecting their positive role and contribution rather than seeing them through a negative lens. It offers a way for the dads of our community who've been brave enough to tell us what they want to have a platform and the support they need to make a difference. We know that the Young Dads Collective is based on meaningful co-production with young fathers, many of whom will have experienced some form of inequality, adversity, or marginalisation. So the project is about local dads championing local dads, and it offers that enabling forum where young fathers can explore and challenge the stereotypes and take action to shift the narrative, be something for other dads like them. It has a mechanism for enabling young dads to influence and contribute to the changes that they want to see. So it's community led, and it provides a really formal platform for local dads to share their voice, advocate for others, and make a difference, so that that information and that championing is all pooled in one place rather than is pulling it out of lots of different community voices and community forums. Next slide, please. Co-production is one of the key principles of Together for Childhood. So we're enabling the community voice to be heard through a programme of existing and planned work with a view to facilitating community co-production in all of our activities moving forward. The YDC responds to dads and the wider community voices that we've heard so far, and the call for a Young Dads Collective in Grimsby was really strong after we had a workshop delivered by the Ask a Dad team from London. It was a multi-agency, multidisciplinary workshop, and there was attendees from a range of services, including the community and voluntary sector. That the attendees said that there are things that they might do differently now, and they really wanted our local dads to have an opportunity to do this. So after we'd had the workshop, we responded to those voices by partnering with the University of Lincoln, Core Family and Childcare, and YMCA Humber to bring a Young Dads Collective concept to Grimsby for our community to shape and deliver it together, so that those voices we've heard before about what local dads want, it gives them an opportunity and a platform to tell that to other people and support each other to gain that moving forward. Now that is my introduction to you, and we're over to Anna in a good 5 minutes. Well done.
Thanks, Bernie. The sound quality was much better there, so hopefully everyone heard all of that. And yeah, so that's essentially where I came in. So I was actually approached originally by Karen Bateson, who was Bernie's predecessor, in around 2018. I had been involved prior to that in a range of studies looking at men's care responsibilities in low-income families. So that was my research expertise. I should just give some kind of background to myself, really. So I'm actually currently an associate professor in sociology at the University of Lincoln. But before that, I worked at the University of Leeds. Through my work at University of Leeds, I became involved in a research study called Following Young Fathers. Now, this was the first major funded investment in research looking at the experiences and support needs of young dads aged 25 and under. It was a qualitative longitudinal study. So basically what that meant is that it followed young fathers across their parenting journeys and tried to understand at which points professionals in a range of organisations came into contact with those young dads. That project became partnered with Core Family and Childcare and became aware of the work of the Young Dads Collective. And at this point in time when I was working on that project, we developed an opportunity and a funded opportunity to think about whether we could transfer the Young Dads Collective up to Leeds, where the project was taking place. So this was a small-scale pilot project. We called it the Young Dads Collective North, and it involved working with a range of partners who worked for the council, for Leeds City Council, who had a remit to support young dads and were very invested in their work with young dads, very well respected by the dads, and who implemented basically a father inclusive approach to support for them. So they worked very closely with the young dads, they worked to help build their confidence, they often advocated on behalf of those young dads, and the Young Dads Collective model basically offered an evidence-based approach to and a more formalised approach to that support. So this was really a successful project. So we evaluated it alongside, and so I was involved in the research evaluation of that, and then in collaboration with Leeds City Council, help them to implement that process. But essentially, 3 of the young dads who were trained to be involved in the Young Dads Collective work went into employment afterwards. They built their confidence through a range of different skills. They reported being much more involved in their children's lives and much more confident about their involvement in their children's lives. And the project reached over 300 professionals in the region as well. And we were able to track the impacts that had. So we gained feedback from professionals about how they might either evidence their practice, their existing good practice, or change their practice and seek to take back some of that evidence to their organisations. So it had a really wide-ranging appeal. And Megan and Richard are going to introduce a bit more about the theory of change behind the actual model in the second half of the webinar. So after that project, Karen Bateson approached me and said, look, we've had this session in Grimsby, and we really think this could work here. And we think that with some longer term investment, this will really help us to develop the already amazing work that's going on in Grimsby. Now, with that, we needed capital, we needed funding. So we applied to several research funding streams to try and fund work. 2 of those were unsuccessful, unfortunately, but then an opportunity came along through something called the Future Leaders Research Fellowship Scheme, which is what I applied for. I was allowed to, or enabled to, apply for up to £1.2 million in funding. And essentially what I did is I built a multi-strand research study around the Grimsby work. So we refer to the Grimsby work as Strand 2. And it's all about basically enabling policy and practice transformations that are evidenced and researched alongside, and using Grimsby essentially as an exemplar of excellence. We're employing a range of different research methods alongside the work that we're doing. So we're employing participatory and qualitative longitudinal methods. So the participatory side of things aligns with the co-production approach that Bernie mentioned. And essentially this is part of that whole process. So basically trying to develop a bottom-up ground roots approach, informed approach to how we implement these models to ensure that they work in Grimsby as a particular place in a particular context. Grimsby, as I'm sure you're aware, is obviously very different to Leeds, it's very different to London, so it's really important to us that we draw on your expertise and feed that in, and then also develop mechanisms that allow us to be responsive to the particular needs of your community and of your town, your city, sorry, your town. What we're doing is we're then tracking the shifting landscapes of family parenting and youth policy alongside that, and we hope that we then be able to take our findings elsewhere as well and develop a more cohesive national policy around inclusive support for fathers. And that doesn't necessarily have to be young fathers, that's basically our focus for our research, but we're behind this model because it has that much broader set of implications for a wider set of people within particular families. So that's a bit of the history. We've had a lot of change in terms of the staffing of the project. So Bernie's now taken over from Karen, who originally brought the project idea to me, but has been an amazing advocate of the work, and will continue to support the project and identify opportunities to ensure that the project works effectively in Grimsby. Laura, who introduced the chair, was the chair of this session and introduced the webinar, is the main research fellow. So basically she's going to be involved in, as I say, evaluating the project as it's rolled out, but also interviewing the young dads as well and trying to track and trace any change, positive or more constraints that might occur across their parenting journeys. And at the moment we're also trying to understand the impacts of the pandemic as well on young dads and also on the implementation process. So essentially we're working towards an evidence-based programme of work. I didn't mention, but with the Young Dads Collective North work, some of the young dads were even able to speak at Westminster. So this kind of work is drawing the attention of people who have the ability to affect wider national policy change as well. And again, in doing this work, our hope is that we produce evidence with Grimsby as the key exemplar of excellence to really inform and affect change at those higher national levels as well.